Imagine approaching a small island off the coast of Brazil. From the water, it looks like any other patch of Atlantic coastline. Dense forest, rocky shores, a rusted lighthouse on the ridge. There are no fences, no warning signs, no guard towers, just an island. But the Brazilian Navy patrols these waters, and if your boat gets too close, they will turn you around. If you somehow make it ashore, you will be standing on approximately 43 hectares of forest floor, where an estimated 2,000 to 4,000 venomous snakes live, not scattered across the island, concentrated. In some areas, researchers have recorded roughly 1 snake per square meter, and these are not ordinary snakes. This species exists nowhere else on Earth, and its venom is 5 times more potent than anything found on the mainland. A single bite can kill a human in under an hour. There is no hospital within range. There is no anti-venom on the island. You are 90 miles from the nearest city, and the government has made it illegal for you to be here. This is Ilha da Queimada Grande, known to the rest of the world as Snake Island, one of a small number of places on Earth where governments have permanently banned human access. Not because of military secrets, not because of political disputes, because the island itself is lethal. And what makes it truly disturbing is that it was not always this way. Something happened here thousands of years ago that turned a normal piece of land into a place where humans can no longer survive. 11,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, rising sea levels severed Queimada Grande from the Brazilian mainland. The snakes that lived on the connected landmass were suddenly trapped on an island with no ground-level mammals, no large predators, and a limited food supply consisting almost entirely of migratory birds. Over the next 11 millennia, isolated from every other population of their species, these snakes evolved. They became the golden lancehead pit viper, Bothrops insularis, a species found on this island and nowhere else in the world. Without mammals to hunt on the ground, they adapted to catch birds mid-perch in the canopy. Their venom became extraordinarily fast-acting, designed to kill prey before it could fly away. A mainland lancehead bite is dangerous. A golden lancehead bite is catastrophic. The venom causes rapid tissue death, kidney failure, and internal hemorrhaging. On the mainland, you could reach a hospital. On this island, you cannot. The last permanent human inhabitants were lighthouse keepers. The lighthouse was built in 1909, and for years, keepers and their families lived on the island to maintain it. According to local accounts, the final family was found dead in the lighthouse, killed by snakes that had entered through the windows. The Brazilian government automated the lighthouse in the 1920s and evacuated the island permanently. No one has lived there since. Today, the only people allowed to set foot on Queimada Grande are members of the Brazilian Navy, who maintain the lighthouse, and researchers from the Butantan Institute and the Chico Mendes Institute for Biodiversity Conservation, who study the golden lancehead under strict safety protocols. Every visit requires government authorization. Every researcher is briefed on emergency procedures. And the golden lancehead is classified as critically endangered, which means the island is sealed not only to protect humans from the snakes, but to protect the snakes from humans. Poachers have been caught attempting to capture golden lanceheads for the black market, where a single specimen can reportedly sell for thousands of dollars to collectors and to biomedical researchers interested in the venom's pharmaceutical applications. But Snake Island is not the only place on Earth where governments have made it illegal to visit. And the next one is forbidden for an entirely different reason. In the Bay of Bengal, roughly 1,200 kilometers southeast of mainland India, there is an island that has been inhabited continuously for an estimated 60,000 years. It is roughly the size of Manhattan. It is covered in dense tropical forest. It has beaches, coral reefs, and a freshwater supply, and it is surrounded by a 5-kilometer exclusion zone enforced by the Indian Navy, not because of what lives on the island, because of who lives on it. North Sentinel Island is home to the Sentinelese, one of the last uncontacted peoples on Earth. They are believed to number somewhere between 50 and 150 individuals, though no accurate census has ever been conducted. They are hunter-gatherers. They fish from narrow outrigger canoes. They build shelters from forest materials. They wear no clothing. They have no agriculture, no metal tools beyond what they have salvaged from shipwrecks, and no known contact with the modern world. And they have made it unambiguously clear, through decades of violent resistance, that they want no contact with anyone. The historical record of interactions with the Sentinelese is almost entirely a record of hostility. In 1880, a British naval officer named Maurice Vidal Portman landed on the island with an armed group and captured 6 Sentinelese, 2 elderly adults and 4 children. He brought them to Port Blair, the colonial capital. The 2 adults fell ill almost immediately and died. Portman returned the children to the island. Whatever the Sentinelese understood about that encounter, they have never forgotten it. Every subsequent approach has been met with arrows. In 1967, Indian anthropologists attempted a series of contact expeditions. The Sentinelese responded with volleys of arrows and spears. In 1974, a National Geographic film crew was driven off the island when the director was struck in the thigh by an arrow. In 1981, a cargo ship ran aground on the reef. The crew reported seeing armed islanders on the beach preparing canoes. They were rescued by helicopter before the Sentinelese reached them. In 2004, after the Indian Ocean tsunami, a helicopter sent to check on the island's inhabitants was met with arrows fired at the aircraft. The Sentinelese had survived the tsunami and had no interest in being helped. There was one brief exception. In January 1991, anthropologist Triloknath Pandit and his colleague Madhumala Chattopadhyay, the first woman to approach the tribe, managed to make peaceful contact. From a boat anchored beyond arrow range, they floated coconuts toward the shore. To their surprise, the Sentinelese waded into the water and accepted them. For a few minutes, the 2 groups coexisted. Then, the visit stopped. The Indian government decided that continued contact posed too great a risk, both to the researchers and to the Sentinelese, who have no immunity to common diseases like influenza that could devastate their population. Official contact expeditions ended in 1997 and have never resumed. In November 2018, a 26-year-old American named John Allen Chow illegally traveled to North Sentinel Island. He had paid local fishermen to bring him close to the shore. He attempted to land 3 times. On his first approach, a Sentinelese boy fired an arrow that pierced the Bible he was holding against his chest. He retreated. On his final visit, he instructed the fishermen to leave without him. The next day, the fishermen saw the Sentinelese dragging his body along the beach. His remains were never recovered. Indian authorities opened a murder investigation but eventually abandoned efforts to retrieve the body, concluding that the risk to recovery teams was too high. Then, in March 2025, the pattern repeated. An American social media influencer illegally landed on the island for a few minutes, left a can of soda and a coconut, and was subsequently arrested by Indian authorities. Rights organizations condemned the intrusion, noting that a single visit carrying common pathogens could potentially wipe out the entire Sentinelese population. Let's pause here, because these 2 islands, separated by thousands of miles and connected by nothing except a shared legal status, reveals something fundamental about the relationship between humans and places. Snake Island is forbidden because the biology that evolved there is incompatible with human survival. North Sentinel Island is forbidden because the people who live there have decided, consistently and violently for at least 140 years, that they do not want us. In one case, nature made the decision. In the other, humans did. And in both cases, governments agreed. The Indian government maintains a strict no-contact policy with the Sentinelese. The exclusion zone is patrolled. Violators face prosecution. The official position is that the Sentinelese have the right to remain uncontacted and that any approach risks their destruction through disease. The Brazilian government maintains a similar prohibition on Snake Island, enforced by the Navy, with exceptions only for vetted scientific researchers. Both islands are protected by law. Both are monitored by military forces, and both remain in practical terms untouchable. Here is what stays with you. We have mapped the entire surface of the Earth. We have photographed every square meter from orbit. We have sent submarines to the deepest trenches and rovers to other planets. But there are places right here, visible from passing boats, close enough to the mainland that you could almost swim to them, where you are not allowed to go. Not because of secrecy, not because of politics, because some places belong to something other than us. One belongs to a species of snake that evolved in isolation for 11,000 years. The other belongs to a group of people who have been saying no for as long as anyone has been asking. And the answer, in both cases, is the same. You cannot visit this island, not because the government will not tell you why, because the island already did. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.